Hello and welcome to this week's YouTube video. Today's video is part of a two-part video on how I painted this black cat. In this video, I will show you how I prepared the reference photo for painting, as I changed it quite a lot. In next week's video, I will show you the painting. Preparing reference photos for painting is easier if you have access to something like Procreate or Photoshop. For the purposes of this video, I am going to use Procreate because it is a more accessible app as you do not need a yearly subscription to use it. You do, however, need an iPad, but you could do these adjustments in Photoshop if that is the program you have access to. This is the reference photo I used for this painting. I wanted the cat in my painting to have a Halloween feel rather than a Christmas feel, so I need to adjust the reference photo. Why adjust your photo prior to painting? When you sit down at your easel, you need to know exactly what you are going to paint. If I left the background area unresolved and tried to figure it out as I was painting, the chances are it would take multiple attempts. In order to keep my painting fresh and my paint clean, I need to avoid laying corrective layers on top of previous layers. If I keep adding paint on top of paint, all that will happen is that I will drag up my subsequent layers and my paint will lose that fresh, clean feel. An easy way to avoid this is to figure out what you want to do to the painting before you start. A program like Procreate is great for this. The size of the canvas I will use is 10 by 8 inches, so I'm going to drop this reference photo into Procreate and crop it to the right size. I am going to use the harmonic armature to help me place this cat. If you are not familiar with this tool, have a look at how to use it in this video on my channel. When you are deciding on a background colour for your artwork, you are better off using a colour that is already largely present in the photo. If I was to use a blue, for example, I would get considerable jarring between my subject and its background, and I would have to work hard to adjust the colours in my cat so this didn't happen. You may wonder how you can adjust black, but I will speak about colourful blacks next week. Just remember that the object will always be affected by the colours that are around it. So if you depart from this quite dramatically, you will need to make adjustments. I have two choices here. I can either go green or yellow. My preference is for yellow for two reasons. Firstly, it is very similar to the colour of the eyes, and so I think it will work well from that point of view. But also, yellow will allow me to introduce its complementary colour of purple. Yellow and purple are colour opposites, and I think purple will give me that Halloween feel I am after. So I'm going to have a go at changing it by adding a new layer and just painting over the top. I've picked up the actual yellow by holding my finger on the background colour. I'm using the wet acrylic brush. That yellow is very strong and far too saturated to work, so I am going to use purple and a muted yellow to neutralise it. Remember that purple will neutralise yellow and create a grey. Working with complementary colours can give you both contrast and harmony depending upon how you use and mix them. I am still using my wet acrylic brush, but I have turned my opacity right down so that my colours are very transparent. Because I want my cat to feel like it is emerging from its background, I am going to darken the bottom areas. This means I can then lose these edges down here and I won't have that awkward effect of cropped cat against separate background. If I show you my final reference photo and compare it to the one where I have not darkened the bottom area, you will see what I mean. The cat looks awkwardly cropped. Notice how as soon as I darken this bottom area and lose some edges, it begins to look far more interesting and I begin to create a composition. Using my purple and muted yellow, I can begin to suggest some broken colour too. Notice again how uninteresting the composition looks without the use of broken colour. I am going to have to introduce some purple hues also into that black coat, especially where it sits next to the yellow areas. Remember, yellow and purple are opposite colours, and when you lay them next to each other, you will get maximum contrast. I want this area of my cat, where the face is, to contrast as much as I can against that background, because that is where I want my viewer to look. I will need to think about that coat colour in terms of temperature too. I will need to warm up my black in the bottom areas in order to create some level of separation between the cat and its background. Whilst I want a certain level of integration between subject and background, I don't want the background to swallow it up. So where I have two areas of dark together, having one of them warm and one of them cool will create enough contrast that the lower body of the cat will still be apparent. Also remember too that purple does not always have to be a cool temperature. I can introduce some warmer purples in this area here and here, and this violet will give me a bridging colour to my yellow. So now I have purple black, violet yellow, and then a muted yellow. So my brightest yellow will be reserved for my eyes. Again, notice how I lose the vividness of those eyes if I increase the saturation of my background yellow. I need to keep my background yellow more muted than the eyes. I'm quite happy with this image, so I'm going to have a go at painting it. I will show you this next week. To recap, when dealing with background adjustments, think about your composition. Use the harmonic armature to help you. Choose a colour consistent with the background already. Introduce broken colour. Use complementary colours for contrast and harmony. Focus on your edges. Can you lose or soften any outside your area of interest? Vary your temperatures. Place cool next to warm and vice versa. Introduce bridging colours between your object and its background to help integrate it more successfully. I hope you have enjoyed today's video and found it useful. Please like and subscribe if you can, and check out my website sarahhallidayart.com, where you will find examples of my work and also details of online classes that I run. Thank you for watching, and see you for the next one.